In this video, we're going to create a different kind of M file. So previously, we have created script files by going up to in the Home tab and clicking on New Script, and then we can type here. I've been using this for notes, so I'll go ahead and put, this is going to be custom function notes. So a script file holds a list of commands that are then executed by MATLAB. It's like a script that it follows. A function file is a little different. A function file holds a little bit of code that can be used from a lot of different places. So the first question is, what is a function? And a function is just a bit of code that we want to reuse. And we want to reuse it later, and we do that by invoking its name. We call its name, and so we have to give the code a name, and then we call the function by name from somewhere else. And a function can do a lot of things. It's anything that you might need to do more than once, or that somebody might want to send different inputs into. For example, cosine is a function. It's a built-in function that already exists in MATLAB, but you could create a new function to do similar things, perform a calculation and spit back an answer. That's a function. So in order to do this as an M file, I'm going to create a new M file and show you some of the pieces of a function. So I'm going to go to New, open up a new document. I get a new untitled file here, and right now MATLAB doesn't know if this is going to be a script file or a function file, but they do look different, and I'll show that to you. So what I'm going to do is copy and paste a function I have ready to go, and we'll look at the pieces together and how it's used. So what the first line is going to start with is the word function. This file isn't going to have anything else in it except for this function. And so I've got the word function that's in blue because MATLAB takes it very seriously. It's a special word in MATLAB. But then I have an output variable name. So I've decided to call this distance because my function takes the number of seconds. You see the input over here in parentheses. My input is going to be seconds, and the name of the function is here on the right hand side of the equal sign. And then I've got a comment that says what this function does. So let me tell you that. This function is called lightning distance, and it estimates the distance of a lightning strike based on how many seconds it took before you heard the thunder. So input is seconds. I've got this all spelled out in comments right underneath the function line. Output is distance to lightning strike, and I want that to be in kilometers. So what you have for your function is first this definition line where you've got, okay, the word function, the name of your output, an equal sign, the name of your function, parentheses, and the name of your input. So we have open and close parentheses here. And we don't have to have spaces there, that's optional. So we can see all of the pieces that are part of that definition line. And then I've got my description, which is all in comments, and now we get the actual code. So speed of sound equals 340.29. That's the speed of sound in meters per second. At sea level, I think it changes. But anyway, that's the number, and I've got a comment that has units and what this is. And then the commands continue. It's like, okay, take speed of sound, multiply it by the number of seconds, but that just gets you meters. So we need one more step, divide by 1,000, and that's where we get kilometers from. Notice I'm using this variable distance, and that was the same one from the definition line. That tells MATLAB that this, whatever value is contained in this variable at the end of the function is what you send back to the user. And you can see that that's the last command before this word end. End is in blue because that's a special MATLAB code word that says, now my function is over. Okay, so let's use this function. I'm going to minimize this comments here so we can see a little bit more of it. Notice my plus signs, minus signs to minimize and open up parts of the code. That's nice. So here's the name of it. That's what we're going to use to call the function. Can't call it yet because it's not saved. So remember, I have opened up a whole separate file, and here's the tricky part. The name of your file has to be the same as the name of your function. It's a must. So MATLAB, when I use this word, lightning distance, that I just made up, MATLAB is going to look for an M file with that name and find it and try to find the function in it. So that's why they have to match. Let's go ahead and save it. Lightning distance, and notice that it's a MATLAB code file. It's still a .m, even though it's a function file instead of script. I'm going to click save, and I want to show you what it looks like in my directory. I've got some other things here from previous videos. These are script files. This one's different. It says f sub x on there, f of x, like a function in math. That tells me it's a function file. This is how I will look at my students' files and see at a glance. You don't have a function file, or you have a function file, or you have a script file. So it's really easy to see at a glance. All right, now that we've saved it, we can use it. So I can call in the command window. I just say distance, let's say distance in kilometers is, and I'm going to use the name of the function here and say, what if it was 10 seconds? If it was 10 seconds, how far away is that in kilometers? So let's talk about what MATLAB did with this number 10. The number 10 is in the place of the seconds. So what MATLAB did was say, okay, I'm going to run this function, and everywhere there's a seconds, I'll replace that with 10 because 10 is in parentheses. So when it got to this line here, it said that variable seconds has the value of 10. It took this locally defined variable, multiplied it by 10, saved that as a variable named distance, and then it replaced that variable distance with what it used to be divided by 1,000. At that point, MATLAB reached the end and said, okay, whatever is in the place of this variable, distance, at the end, is what I'm going to send back to the user, to the whoever called this file. Since I called the file from the command window, it got sent right back to the command window. Notice in my workspace, the only variable is distance km. The variable distance does not exist. Oops, I'm using the word distance, and apparently it's a special one. But the variable seconds, oh, sorry, that's another special word. Okay, I should have used words that were not special words in MATLAB. That's my bad. In any case, the variables that are used inside the function are not accessible outside the function. And that's one of the reasons to use a function, is to separate variables inside and variables outside. All right, that's our example of a function. We've got a whole function file. It's got the same name as the actual function definition, which is the first line of my file. That's not a comment. And let's do it one more time. Let's call distance, I'll just use the same variable again. Distance km is lightning distance 7. And we get it. I've spelled it wrong. So luckily for me, MATLAB figured out what I meant. It spelled it correctly, and yes, that's what I meant, MATLAB. Thank you. So we get a different value, and nothing has changed except the value of distance km. So it went and found the file, used it again with the different variable, and got a different answer. All right, in our next video, we'll take another look at the function definition and create some custom functions of our own.